Hey everybody, and welcome to Phaseshift devlog number 9. Apologise, I've left it this long. I'm about 3 versions behind and I just gotta get on and do it. So this version encompassed all of the feedback that came from Steam Next Fest. It was all supremely helpful. There's a couple of things that kept coming up in most people's feedback. That was damage perception, so whether or not you'd been damaged and how severely you've been damaged and if you were close to being destroyed, as well as the ability UI feedback, so knowing when you can use an ability and when the cooldown has expired. So this is 0.1.61. If you enjoy these devlogs, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps a poor little solo indie dev out. I need that reach. I'm begging you. Anyway. So for damage perception, I wanted to add a lot of on-bike cues as to how much damage you'd have taken. So I added some effects for and made them a lot bigger for shield destruction as well as the armor low. On the shield destruction, there's a big sort of electric cloud that kind of dissipates around you, and when your armor's low, you have basically a fire and sparks kind of come around. I've also increased the size of the vignette that surrounds the bottom of the screen when damage is taken, so it kind of covers a lot of the bottom of the UI, so you can actually see not only what type of damage but how much damage you've taken. I've also reworked the camera shake mechanic. So this camera shake mechanic prevalent on things like boosting, also when you take damage. Now it's a bit more obvious when you're taking damage, and the severity of the shake depends on the damage taken as well. So if you're getting hit by Gatling guns, for example, the camera's not going to shake, but if you get hit by a grenade, the camera's going to shake. This camera shake is also tied into the controller vibration, so I've reworked the vibration intensity as well. It pulses with the same duration and intensity as the camera shake, so if you're using a controller, it should get a bit more cohesive now with the damage feedback stuff. For the ability UI comments, I've just made it a bit more obvious that the abilities are available to use. So previously they kind of filled in, and when used they just kind of filled out, which is not enough. So now they actually pulse when they're ready. A lot of attention was given to this section because I want to make sure the ability was reflective of whether or not you can actually use it. So for example, if you've got Seeker Missile, you can't target the pilot ahead if they're your teammate, for example. I wanted the ability UI to reflect this. I wanted to make sure that if you're hard racing, you can still see a little bit of a flicker or a pulse at the bottom of your screen knowing your ability can be used. Another confusion that a lot of people had were there's 4 abilities and it's quite hard to remember which buttons are for which ability, which I completely understand. Most racers have like 1 or 2 weapons, but 4 weapons is a bit much. So what I've done, I've added Keymap icons to the bottom of the abilities so you can actually see what button they refer to. At the moment, this is just limited to the Xbox line of controllers, just because I've already made the graphics for them, just because of that's all I own at the moment. But I will add in Switch, PlayStation, and then kind of more common sort of generic controllers as well. All in all, I think these features really improve Phaseshift. It's a lot more feedback on what you can and can't do when you're taking damage, and that hopefully should stop you from dying so much. There's also a lot of other things that I fixed, mainly from bugs or feature requests from the Steam community, Discord, Reddit, Twitter. So I've added a missile tracking sound, so when you're getting locked on by a homing missile or rocket, a lock-on beep is heard so you know when to dodge. There's also a distance-based countdown so you can attempt to dodge the incoming missiles. Soundtrack is now random. It doesn't loop the same track throughout the entire session. It darts between soundtracks and selects them at random. A music playing UI also shows, so it shows the artist and the track playing at that time as well. I've reworked all the menus again. I think this is like the 7th time I've done this, but a lot of the feedback was that the menus were quite clunky, quite slow. You weren't really sure what you were selecting, especially the sliders were quite difficult to really know which one you were selecting. So now I've got to know which one you're actually selecting at that time, and made various other tick boxes and other UI elements have a very obvious selection ring around it so you know that you're manipulating that item. Also some little UI improvements. I created my own fonts for the Phaseshift main logo, and I've been adopting that for the position UI font numbers. There's a few bits that I missed around, so I've just added them in. And last but not least, you can actually now change the resolution in game as well. I believe it can go down to 720p, but it probably doesn't look that great, so yeah. There are also lots of little minor bugs, including reverb zone that went rogue. Some users reported that when you drove through the tunnel, it got really loud all of a sudden, and that reverb zone was actually bypassing the volume of the sound effects channel, which made it really loud. So if you reduced your volume of your sound effects and then drove through the tunnel, you get a bit of an earful. So a lot of changes this version. A lot of work was put into the damage perception. I want to make sure that it felt like you were actually getting hit, and feedback as to whether your bike was heavily damaged or shields were low or whatever, so you can take avoiding action or drive differently. As always, thanks for your really useful feedback and suggestions. This version's really improved the playability of Phaseshift, especially like player feedback. As always, suggestions, feature requests are always helpful, so please keep them coming in. I'm going to make Phaseshift Phaseshift a better game, hopefully. Thanks for listening. I hope it was insightful and useful in some kind of way. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Again, it really helps me out. I need that reach. Anyway, I'll catch you next time.